Ariel Brunner, welcome to the 2018 Forum for the Future of Agriculture. You are the Senior Head of Policy for BirdLife Europe, and I know that you're going to be part of the panel talking about agriculture and the CAP, its future survival, how it will look, and I wonder if you could give me your view on what you're going to say on that panel with regard to CAP reform. Stopping being vague and starting being accountable is one of the calls to action that we often hear with regard to talking to those within the European Parliament. Will that be one of your messages today?
Well, I think my message will follow up from what we've just heard from Commissioner Potočnik, who was saying that there is overwhelming scientific evidence that we are failing the planet, and that the way we produce food today cannot last for another generation. We need fundamental change. And the real question on the reform of the common agricultural policy is, are we giving European citizens and European farmers a policy for change to take us where we need to go, or a policy of the past that locks us on a road to nowhere? That's essentially the question, and I think that's what I hope the afternoon debate will be about.
What answers do you hope to have? Phil Hogan's going to be there.
Well, I doubt that Phil Hogan will be giving a lot of answers today, but when he needs to give the answers is in the month of May, when he makes the legal proposals for the next CAP. Is he going to present a new policy that has clear objectives, that has sustainability at its heart, that ring fences money for doing something about the collapse of biodiversity? Is he going to suggest real accountability mechanisms to make sure that governments use the money for what it is supposed to be used, rather than for the minister of the moment electoral campaign? Those are the things that we expect to see in the new CAP. And those are the answers that we need from the Commissioner, essentially.
You feel passionately about that. I know that BirdLife, amongst others, has put their name to an open letter that you've just sent to some of those actors involved, the commissioners and people like Jean Arthias, to say exactly that. It's important, isn't it?
Yes.
Are you going to be communicating with passion today? And do you feel this is a good and important platform for debate?
I would certainly hope so, because the survival of life on Earth is about the most passionate thing I can think of, frankly. And agriculture is at the heart of it. If we don't change the way we use land, we use water, what we put into the atmosphere, and the way we produce the food that we put into ourselves, we really are doomed as a civilization. And this is not a hyperbole, it's a fact.
We listened to Queen Noor of Jordan this morning. I know that she has an association with BirdLife International, and she endorsed that as well. We have looked at the past at the forum about issues like cheap food, but it's come at a terrible environmental price, hasn't it? I know that you are passionate about talking about things like the oblivion of biodiversity.
Well, yes, a terrible environmental price. We've all heard by now we've lost in Europe more than half of the birds, probably 70-80% of the insects. Biodiversity is in free fall. Life is melting away from our countryside. But the human cost is just as high. If you look at what climate change is doing, and agriculture is a main driver of it, what it is doing in terms of, we've heard Queen Noor talking about climate refugees and failed states and wars being fueled by climate change. But think also about how this bad food is killing a lot of people through obesity, through all sorts of diseases. We really have a big problem, and it's not a question of nature versus people. It's a question of survival of the biosphere, people included, versus a system that has gone wrong.
Are you going to be here all day? Because you'll have Franz Timmermans at the end, again, one of the people that you sent that open letter to.
Of course, we will be here the whole day, and the letter we've sent to both Hogan and Timmermans says something very simple. The place to start for a better common agricultural policy is with objectives. Is it going to have fluffy objectives about sustainability, which then mean nothing, as has happened last time, or will there be targeted objectives such as reversing the decline of biodiversity or reducing greenhouse gas emissions? Would those objectives be quantifiable, measurable, and would everybody be held accountable for pursuing them honestly?
Final question then, linking public money for public goods, having that reward system going in that direction now, final word. That's crucial, isn't it?
That's absolutely crucial. Today, the majority of the money is spent on entitlement, on supposed income support to people sometimes very rich, sometimes not, but to people who have been lucky enough to have an entitlement coming from the past. We need to start putting the money behind essentially two things: rewarding farmers for the delivery of public goods, things like wildlife habitats and ecosystem services, and to help farmers with investments move from where they are today to where they need to be in the future.
Ariel Brunner, enjoy the forum. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.